Oh man, here they come again.
Here they come again. This still has skin on the skull. The question is, why are fallen angels and probably even Nephilim creating more Nephilim in today's world?
Satan's outnumbered 2-1. Chuck Missler. Satan's outnumbered 2-1. He's building an army. It's exactly what this is. And the army, it's like the Lord of the Rings in some ways. I mean, it really is. The hybrids are like the Uruk-hai, okay, on some level. And then you've got the cave trolls, which are Bigfoot. And you'll notice that the Sasquatch sightings have gone through the roof.
Yeah.
Gone through the roof. They're everywhere. They're procreating, and they're coming closer and closer to human activity. And you don't want to mess with these guys. These are not, some throwback to Neanderthal or some, skunk ape. But these are one of the tools that the enemy will use in the latter days. These are, in my opinion, the Therion, the beasts of the earth that we read about in the book of Revelation. These are the beasts of the earth, Therion, which come and destroy mankind. Remember, these entities, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, they can materialize, dematerialize. They have power over human beings. They can make you stop in your tracks. You'll feel like you're stuck in molasses. UFO brain fog. They move with such agility, and they're really strong. You turn one of these things loose in a town, and the carnage would be unspeakable, especially if you have 2 or 3 of them.
Do you think that we're approaching a time where we are going to start seeing these creatures, Dogman, Bigfoot, these monsters, unleashed on the open public?
Yeah, it'll happen eventually because the Bible tells us it will. The beasts of the earth, the Dogmen and the Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, will be released. They will be. They'll be released. But they can't do it yet. But we know that they are legalists. And in my opinion, if you want to research that and you want to go out in the woods, you got to be real careful. First of all, you got to be sure you're being called to it. Second of all, you can't have any open doors at all. You can't leave a toehold for the enemy. He's a legalist. So if a person, let's say, is Bigfoot hunting and, come back that night and they get drunk, that's an open door. And that's when bad things happen. Really bad things can happen, including the loss of your life.
Yeah, I mean, we have a common, he passed away recently, Scott Carpenter. Ironically, I moved to the same town he lived in, and I didn't even know he lived in the same town until I got there.
Wow, okay.
But I know he was on with you, I think it was this year at some point, he filmed with you about his portal that he filmed.
Yep.
And that was, for me, it takes theory and the ideas that you think of. Like, for me, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to people's experiences. They dump what they've been through on my table. And you do this for a long enough period of time and you start generating theories and thoughts on how this stuff might operate. And then taking what you start leaning towards, which is a lot of this stuff is interdimensional. They appear physical, but they can transcend dimensions, all this stuff. When he had that footage that he captured, it took all that theory and put it right in front of my face and said, this is actually on track.
This is what you're doing.
Exactly. Now he was out there doing, research, but we both know that he didn't have those what would you say? How do you say open doors? The footholds that like he was very serious about his faith, very open. Him and I had great conversation here in studio when he was here. Do you think that in that instance, what he captured, do you think it was something that was directed towards him, or he just happened to accidentally capture something like that?
he was being followed. I really don't want to get into what I really think here.
Okay.
It's not for public consumption. I have a theory on this. I actually told it to, one-on-one with another very well-known Bigfoot researcher, very well-known researcher who also knew Scott really well. And I just said, this is what I think happened. I'll tell you when we're done the recording of what I think. It's not something I want to bring into the public eye.
Yeah, say no more. That's fine. Because the reason why I bring it up is because of this interdimensional aspect with these beings. And I think that what's happening, and I have some things that I've been privy to recently that I'll be dropping soon, and I'll talk to you about it off air. But I think that there's a whole operation going on in this other realm, and I don't think people,
I agree.
They do not comprehend the complexity of Satan's operation that's going on here. They just think demons, Satan, Adam and Eve, Jesus, God, humans. That's it. And it's like it's a very complex operation, and there's a lot of moving pieces. And I think that we operate, even the people who look into this stuff, like you and I, or the people who listen to the show, we operate in a way where we don't always acknowledge how deep this topic is. And it's hard to verbalize that, especially to people who are not on the same track as you. I mean, I'm sure you've experienced that too, where, you're talking to people and they're Christians, and all of a sudden they're like, so what are you doing? Like, oh, how much time do you have? So, as far as the cattle mutilations go, though, is this something that you think is going to also happen more as we draw closer towards end times because Satan is creating this army?
Absolutely. And, it's funny how, what was it, in the spring, there was a rash of cattle mutilations in Texas, which went national. Why now? They're bringing it back into the public eye. But it went, it was in all the papers and all media. 6 cattle, sex organs cut out, tongues cut out, very grisly, very disgusting. And of course, by this time, we had already filmed, but we didn't come out with the film. I got to tell you something, Tony. I've done a lot of filming. I'm a filmmaker, and my business partner is down here, and we're trying to get number 7 and 8 out in the UFO films. And he just came through the door and realized, oh, not yet. But, Gil Zimmerman and I are working on these films. And when Gil and I shot the footage for the cattle mutilation film, I'm figuring, well, we'll have this out in a month. No worries. So 3 months go by and I'm still slaving over it. Like I said, it was the darkest film I've ever worked on, the most difficult film I've ever worked on. I would work on it for maybe an hour or two, walk out of the studio into the sunlight and go, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. I can't do this anymore. And it's just really dark, ominous, because it's looking at the plan of the enemy and realizing how, like you said, how complex it is, how multifaceted it is, how he's been planning this for decades, perhaps hundreds of years. We don't know. I would say it goes back even before Darwinism. And Darwinism is part of the key here that the enemy will use for the coming great deception. But the cattle mutilations are used in the breeding program. There's no doubt anymore in my mind. That's what it's being used for. It's part of the breeding program. And I watched your body language when I gave you the punchline that they're creating artificial wombs. I've had women at conferences break down and just start crying because all of a sudden it took all these unanswered parts of the puzzle and just went, and here's the picture. So a lot of people have had different parts of the puzzle, but no one put it together. And it's not because we're so smart. It's because the Holy Spirit's leading us, and step by step by step by step, and showing what we're looking at. And he's the one that's uncovering it and connecting the dots. We're just, we're along for the ride, essentially going, wow, this is what it might mean. Oh my gosh. So
yeah, I say that basically the same thing, because I get people asking me with doing my show or the documentaries that we do, like they say, aren't you scared? No, it's just full stop right there. Because if you're doing what you know you've been called to do by God, there's nothing to be afraid of. And there's a reason why I'm here, and there's a reason why I'm doing things. So there's nothing to be scared of, because you are walking that path that's been laid before you. Now, if you deviate off that path, you probably got a lot to be worried about.